Hello, this is one of my car boot finds, and it's a Roland Juno-D. Now, I'm not sure exactly when these came out, but what I have found is a lot of the keybed does not work at all. Just the occasional notes will actually work, and some of them, even the velocity won't work on those. So there's 13 notes that actually play out of 61, and some of those notes, like I say, the velocity doesn't work on it. So that's probably just a case of pulling up the rubber strips and cleaning all the contact board, hopefully. Now, I've looked around Google, and there's quite a few of these that have got this problem. Whether it was just a bad design of the keybed, I'm not too sure, but I'm going to open this up and show you how to clean these rubber contacts, because that's mainly what the problem is on these. Now, if you don't want to go through all the effort of taking the entire thing apart and removing each key to clean those keybeds, but you do want to keep the sounds in here, because it's got some pretty good sounds actually, you can just plug in a MIDI keyboard. It's just a little 5-volt battery here. Power this up. So yeah, if you didn't want to do the cleaning, just plug in another keyboard, because it has some, like I say, really nice sounds in this. Anyway, enough, it works. I'll take this apart now and show you how to clean them up. It might not actually fix it. It depends how badly corroded the actual carbon contacts are on there. But I'll go through the whole procedure. I've given it a clean, flip it over and try it. And if it works, great. If it doesn't matter. I'll just use it as a sound module. So with a couple of cushions or a bit of sponge, flip the keyboard over and take out all the screws except for these 5 small ones which are just below the edge of the keybed here. Then the back can come off. Now those 5 small ones are just holding a piece of metal to give it a bit of rigidity. So I'll just put that to one side. Now inside, what you have to do is take off the screws on the back that you'll find where the MIDI outputs are and so on and so forth. Remove all those and put them in a line, because some of the screws are different to others. And if you put them in a line, then you can put them back in correctly the right way around. So what we want to do is just take this keybed out. Now there's a screw at each end here, but there's also these little bits of metal here, there, everywhere, with screws going through. That's holding it all together. So you've got to remove all those as well. Now this sort of ribbon connector here, you can unplug it here, but you can't unplug this. Don't try and pull this piece out, because that is not actually a removable plug. So what we've got to do is lift this board off so we can unplug the ribbon connector there, and you can also unplug it here as well if you need to, but don't bother about that. Leave those two where they are. Just take this one off, which is going to the other side of this actual circuit board here. So we'll take this circuit board up. Now all those screws are the same size, so you don't have to worry too much about the ones that are along here. So I'll take those out first and then flip this over and just remove the ribbon connector from this board. But there's always going to be something in the way, so I've got to remove this one as well. See, all the keyboard works, all the sound producing part of it, so I don't really want to mess about too much with this gear. I just want to get to the actual keyboard. So I can't really flip it over for the camera to see. Let me just try it like this for you so you can see. If you sort of put it like so, remember the red wire will be facing you when you look down onto it, or rather the red wire is going towards the keys, and that must go in the right way round when you plug it back in. I think it's key locked anyway. There's a little ridge, so you can't put it in the wrong way. So just give that a little jiggle, and that should come out like so. Yes, there's a little sort of ridge in the end there, so you can't put it in the wrong way round, which is handy, which I've done in the past. But we only learn by our mistakes. So I'll take these last few out here. Just undo these two end ones, and I might be able to maneuver it out. Now they're different screws on the ends. This one and this one are machine screws, and all the rest are just sort of self-tapping screws for the metal, so you don't have to worry. It's only two to worry about here. So I'll put those either side of this pile of screws here. Now if I'm lucky, this might actually slide out from underneath all this lot. Yes, that is the piece that we need to work on. So, can clear the desk, move this out of the way safely. Now underneath here, there's a circuit board that runs all the way along the back, and that's what we want to get to. But to get to that, you have to remove every single spring. You'll notice all the white keys have a stainless steel silver spring, and all the black keys have a sort of gold copper-ish coloured spring. You don't need a special tool for these, but it just makes it so much easier if you can just catch the spring and just lift it off. Like so. I shall fast forward this video because all I'm going to be doing is taking off all these springs now. So all the springs are off. Now these keys have a little bit of a lip in front of them, so if you slightly tilt it and pull it towards you, this little lip here is what sort of holds it into place. And you've got to take the white ones off before you can take the black ones off. So I'm going to put these in order because it's so much easier to put them back again afterwards. There we go. This is the bit that we need to get to. And it's these little rubber plungers that seem to cause all the problems. So I'm just going to have a little inspection across the board. And do you know, it looks really clean. It looks like there's hardly been any use of this keyboard. I mean, there's clearly nothing been spilt down there. Coca-Cola and beer is a bit of a killer of circuit boards. I've seen many keyboards in the past where somebody's used them to gig and things, and Coca-Cola or beer has gotten between the keys and it actually starts to eat away at the copper. So when you press one of the keys, this sort of section here, this pattern, pushes down onto this plunger. Now there's two plungers in each key, and one of them is slightly higher than the other. Therefore, if you press the key down softly, then this will connect before this. There's a little bit of a time difference. And if you press the key down hard, then they go down one after the other, but it takes a shorter time. So the keyboard recognizes that as you've hit the key harder or you've hit the key softer, depending on the time difference between that connection and that connection. So what I'm going to do here is I've got to gently prise up this rubber. And it's not stuck down, it's just these sort of little nipple bits. Yeah, you see this one is thicker than this one, so it's kind of keyed into place, so you can only put it down the same way as you've taken it off. So I'm going to lift these, and on the back here, these are carbon contacts, those little black dots, and they connect these two copper pieces here, and that's how the keyboard works basically. But I don't know why this problem keeps on occurring with this type of keyboard. Maybe because it's a sort of a dome, maybe over time with you pushing it down and letting it go, maybe it's taking air in there and drawing in dust and crap, and maybe that's why they're not actually that good. But they're cheap and a lot of manufacturers use them. So without being too brutal and just ripping this thing off, just take your time and gently pull them out like so. And you'll probably find each one is 12 notes, an octave. Now you need some cotton buds, or Q-tips as they call them in the USA, and you need some isopropyl alcohol to clean these up. Now isopropyl alcohol comes in different sort of strengths. If you've got the 70% stuff, don't use it. It's no good, because I don't know what the other 30% is. It could be water, and you don't want to be leaving water on there. So what you really need to do is go for the 99.9% isopropyl alcohol, or isopropanol, and then at least that's all going to evaporate off there, apart from 0.01% or whatever. But yeah, all you're going to do is get a bit of alcohol and gently clean all of these contacts here. Now I've had a close look at these contacts. They all look okay, they don't look dirty, but some of them do look a little bit more oxidized than the others. Some of them are not shiny, others are. So I'm going to clean all of them up, and I don't know, hopefully it'll work. Now the next part, once you've cleaned all those contacts up on the board, is to clean all of these tiny little black carbon buttons, and you've got to do it sort of gently-ish, not too hard. You see this, probably just a little bit of a black dot on the end of that there. So once everything's cleaned up, you'll notice there's some thick pegs and some thin pegs on these rubber strips. So basically what we need to do is orient it, because you've got large holes and small holes on the board here. That way you can't get it the wrong way round. Now what you need is a very thin screwdriver, and the very thin screwdriver will go into these tiny holes, just like so. So that when you line it up where it's got to go, you can use the screwdriver and push that into place, and then take the screwdriver out. And then you do that to all the connections. Well, not connections, but the little rubber plungers, because they tend to move around a lot. So I think maybe at the factory they've got some sort of device that's got a lot of pins on that all just line up onto one of these things, and it pushes the whole thing into place in one go, most likely. But that's all that holds this back into the board. It's just by pushing them down like so. So rather than put all the keys on and test it and then find the keys that aren't going to work, I've just sort of assembled it in a way so I can just test these instead. Let's find piano. Turn the volume up a little. Anyhow, so all the keys play. Some of them sound louder than others, but you've got to hit them just right to get both of the contacts down at the right time. So the keys should help to do that better. So okay, fine, that's great. At least all the keys are actually working. Now I can start reassembling and putting all the keys back together again. Now when I put screws back into holes that are on plastic posts, you always go back just a little bit with the screwdriver and you'll feel the screw just drop into its correct slot. That way you're not forcing it in and biting a new sort of thread, because when you do that you can destroy the actual post that the screw goes into, and then it doesn't work anymore. Okay, everything's screwed back together now, and I think I'll have to pick something. Piano, maybe piano. I'm not a great player, so don't expect anything wonderful. Well, the velocity is working on it. Seems to be working. Pipe organ. Yeah, so there you go. That's basically what you have to do to most keyboards if the keyboard just is unresponsive, but everything else is working. It's not always the problem with them. Sometimes it can be a bad connection on a ribbon cable or something else like that. But the majority of little jobs that I've done on keyboards, little jobs, I've actually done 100 of them or more. But quite a lot of them has always been just that rubber contact strip. It's not the greatest design really, but it's cheap and it works. But they do tend to pull dust and crap inside over time, and yeah, that's unfortunately one of the things that goes wrong with them. So that actually took me just over 2.5 hours to do. Take it apart, take the springs off, take the keys off, do all the cleaning and actually reassemble it. And like I say, I've done 100 of those, so I kind of know what I'm doing in a way. So if you do this at home and you've never done that, you should give yourself a good 3 or 4 hours maybe to do the whole job properly. But it's worth doing because you're bringing life back to a keyboard. And you know, if it doesn't work, you can just use a MIDI keyboard anyway in the back. But there you go. That's basically always a problem on these types of keyboards. It's not just Roland. Many other manufacturers, they use similar keybeds and they also have the same problems. Nothing's perfect, sadly. But anyway, if you like that video or found anything useful in it, great. Please give us a thumbs up or thumbs down, depending on how you feel. And please subscribe. More on the way. All the best. Thank you. Bye-bye.